Good evening, Jack. How are you this evening? Hope you're well. And Tim, happy Hanukkah to you too. Thank you very much. Hope you're well. Tonight is the third night of festivities. I'm just going to pack away these pipes. I had an interview this evening for one of the well-known channels earlier on, and I was showing off some of my pipes during the interview. Well, chat, not so much interview, but chat. Which went very well, I think. A pleasant, enjoyable chat. So, just got to tidy up. Did a bit of tidying up in here anyway, so you could actually see some of the surfaces here. So it was a good reason. Yeah, it is very cold. Are you outside? Can you only smoke outside? Well, besides for my youngest daughter throwing up projectile vomiting this evening, otherwise we're all pretty good. I don't know if it was the donuts that she's been eating or the potato latkes, but something set her off. She came down crying, said, "I'm really not feeling well, Daddy." And my wife came down, and she wasn't quite clear what it was. She said she felt sick. So the first thing we always ask our kids, do you need to be sick? That is our way of saying, are you just feeling unwell, or do you just want some TLC? You know, just to get to the bottom of it. But anyway, after a few minutes, she just looked really dodgy, and then suddenly, bleh, all over the couch. Hey, Christopher. You know what it's like. Once it's out, she was fine. She went straight upstairs. A large cuppa here too, Jack. And this time I have tea, not coffee. Once there's a few more people in, maybe I'll show you a quick little tour of my workshop. Haven't done that in a while, and since I've tidied it up a little bit, I don't feel as embarrassed. I did try this earlier on. This is a tobacco from one of the members. Hey, Pipes and Bees. This is from one of the members of the Pipe Club of London, Juan Carlos Rincon. And every so often he makes a tobacco, puts together a tobacco. And this one is to celebrate the Pipe Club of London's 50th anniversary year, which this is. We're coming to the end of it now. And he's throwing the kitchen sink at it. You've got Golden Virginia, Latakia, Orientals, Black Cavendish, Dark Fired Kentucky, Burley, Cavendish, Perique, and Belgian Semois, and flavourings single malt whiskey. So that's a real kitchen sink blend. I tried a little bit of it before. It smells very nice in the tin. Hi, Josh. But in terms of flavour, I don't think it's going to be my cup of tea. I've tried it, and I'll try it again, probably, do a video maybe. And then I think I'll probably send bits of it out so people can try it as well. It's something interesting, you know, in the pipe community. It's one of the members of the club putting it together, presenting it nicely, limited run. He let people choose the number. I chose number 7, which is a auspicious number in my religion. And there we go. Hey Tree, happy Hanukkah to you too. Thank you very much. Pipe Run 45. She's all right. Thank you very much. She just needed to get it out, and she's fine now. Hey Josh, hey Boris. So yes, I just wanted to get rid of the pipes that were out on the surface, and I'm actually revisiting this pipe here. I'm not actually smoking anything at the moment, but I might light up that little cigar. I don't know if you guys remember this pipe. I made this pipe quite a while ago. It's got very, very nice grain. I made like an army mount. Thank you, Savinelli Mike. I put like an army mount in it, so it's bigger than 9mm, so I can't even put one of my own stems in there. It's got beautiful grain on it. So I'm thinking of what I can do with it. It didn't sell as a non-9mm pipe for some reason, I don't know why. I suppose I could have another bash at putting it out there, but I was thinking of maybe doing something with it and making it somehow into a 9mm pipe, possibly um, putting something in there, or maybe trimming it and putting a shank extension on it, and then drilling that for 9mm. Maybe olive wood or something like that. I would have to take it quite far back, something like till there, for it to work. But I think the challenge would be for me to make that mate seamlessly. Not being on the lathe now that it's already a pipe, it would be very hard to make that line absolutely spot on. I think I would struggle with that, but we shall see. There is a few things which I was thinking of. See, something like that could work. So I could just put a plug in there, glue in a plug, and then re-drill it for 9mm. I could do that and then just smoke it myself. That could be quite a good fit. Obviously that would polish up. Hey Daniel, yeah, a wood insert could work as well. I've done that before on a pipe. I bought a job lot of these rings, and some of them are quite interesting. Even got a square one there. It's a whole bunch of them. I've got another job lot on the way. I ordered 2 lots of 100, so that'll give me plenty. Sort of. I don't use them much. I've used them once or twice, but they really, if you get the right thing on a pipe, it just sets it off nicely. Yeah, Jack, that was really what triggered this. The ring that I put on your pipe. Unfortunately, I don't have any more of those. I'm going to try and get some more of them. Hopefully, I'll get some. But that's what kind of triggered me to start looking at these a little bit more closely. Some of them are interesting. I mean, look at this one. Bit old-fashioned for me, but still, it's a nice ring. It's got a nice ring to it. Interesting shape, that one. It's even got some kind of hallmark on it. And somebody's initials. So these are quite possibly have come off old pipes, old estates. I'd have to get Tree's eyeglass that he sent me. I haven't got it here. It's upstairs somewhere, I think, in my office that I've been evicted from. So that's something which I could do, is just fill it and then re-drill it for 9mm. But I quite like the idea of trimming it right back and trying to marry it up with a shank extension. I think olive wood would work nicely on that. No, it didn't break. Hey JT, it didn't break. It was just I can't find the stem now. I had a push fit stem on it. Hang on. It had one of these, this kind of idea. Obviously, it was shaped to fit, and it basically went in there, and I bent it suitably. It was a nice looking pipe, but it never sold, and my marketing is not great at the moment. But it's actually a very superior piece of briar, so it'd be a shame not to make something decent out of it. I'd probably sand it and repolish it, restain it. But it's got fantastic grain. Look at that. I just want to make more of it. It's got fantastic grain. Yeah, something along those lines, Daniel. Not sure exactly what it is I'll do with it, but certainly explore something interesting. This pipe is still available if anybody wants a good smoking pipe. No pipe made today. This was Thursday's pipe. Nice plateau topped pipe with a long shank which flares out. The stem also flares out to match. Really nice pipe. And the current stock of pipes that I've got, I haven't really been marketing very well, and I'm to blame myself. Really am. But this one is still available. I adjusted this one, kind of softened those lines that were on there, so that they're barely visible now. Smooth rim, a couple of rings, Eldritch rod stock I used to make that band. I'll show you the pipes that I showed on my interview I did earlier on. This one is still available. Also Eldritch rod stock, nice vulcanite or ebonite stem, really comfortable bit, very clean, nice beautiful piece of briar. What else? This one's still available as well. This one's got a nice white band to brighten things up, to go with the black and white swirls. Another nice plateau top with really, really nice grain. Lovely grain on that one. Here in Northwest. What else? I've got 2 or 3 more. This one is my current favourite. I keep telling myself I've got to smoke this one. I just like this. It's so interesting. The bowl shaping on it is just phenomenal. Really, really good, sort of like a tankard style. Then you've got this straight bottom here, and then it kind of angles up. Mortar band on there, shank adornment, acrylic Cumberland stem, silver band, and it's just, I'm so tempted to smoke this pipe. It's so different, and it just talks to me. You see, the natural thing to do here would be to just sand this round so that it just flowed in a curve, but it's so goes against the grain so much. I just like it for that reason, and I'm really holding myself back from smoking this one. That's the crop, the cream of the crop, as far as I'm concerned, from my personal tastes. In terms of smoking, they're all fine, but then there's this one here, the one that I first tried this rustication on. Again, another beautiful pipe, nice rustication, and this one I put a triangular shank on it, and this rustication to match that, sort of tie in the design. Great looking pipe, and it's very lightweight. I don't know, I have to hold myself back from smoking them, I have to be honest. There's another one with that rustication. Beforehand it was smooth on the front and back, and I just rusticated the rest of it and made it all the way around. Gave it a nice shellac shiny finish. Dunhills don't have acrylic stems, no. I've never seen one with an acrylic stem. Thank you, Yakim. And then, of course, this is to stab Josh's eyes out. This beautiful square-shanked billiard. Hey, Andrew. Really nice grain on this one. And those are the pipes that I showed in the video, in the interview I did a little bit earlier on, which I'm sure you guys will all see in the next few days. That's a nice Christmas gift for Josh. Josh, well, give me his wife's phone number, Josh has had a fair couple of freebies from me. He's earned them, of course. Very dedicated customer, goes without saying. But I'll work something out with Josh, I'm sure I will. He knows that. Oh dear. So somebody said fire up that Hoyo. However, this ain't no Hoyo. La Flor de Cano, Spanish Regional Edition. It's really cold, and I haven't been enjoying the pipes that I've been smoking, I have to be honest. I smoked some Orlik Golden Slides before, didn't really enjoy it. Gets to a point where it's just too cold to enjoy it, so I'm hoping that a cigar will work out. And whenever my grandson moves out of my office, I'll be back in there, I guess. What I've realised I need to do here is to spend some time in here just organising things and making like racks and sort of blocks of wood drilled to take drill bits. I said before that I would do a little video showing you my workshop. I think there's enough people in the room now. I think I'll do that now. And I'll just show you around a little bit. Hey Lathe, how you doing? Alright, so I assume you guys will be interested in seeing my workshop. Let me just take another drag of my tea. Tim, no problem at all. I don't usually take reservations, but I will for you. Especially since it hasn't sold. Fine, you guess, Lathe. Nobody's forcing you to stay. Just kidding, just kidding. Alright, so the first thing is, when you come in, that's my bench grinder, so I use that for sharpening up my chisels for the most part, not much else. And there's my little drill, which I sometimes use for drilling pipes that are already drilled, and I just want to open up the draft, so I'll use that cordless drill for that. So this is my workstation where I sit most of the time if I'm doing a video, or if I'm doing my staining, my hand sanding, anything, any hand fiddling that I'm doing with a pipe, it'll be over here. A couple of pictures of pipes there for inspiration. So this is my main sort of, my desk if you like. The workbench itself is 9 feet long. I got this a few weeks back. There is my drill. I just bought another one a week or so ago because the first one died. It didn't. I don't even know if it lasted a year. In fact, I think the other one's still under guarantee. But this time I've decided to cover it, leave it open so air gets to it, but just to protect it because I think it probably got completely caked in with dust, with briar dust. And there we have the main event, the lathe. So this is an Axminster AC305WL. It's their craft series. They have a craft series and they have a trade series. So the trade series is a little bit higher up in terms of robustness. I always get thumbs down, don't worry about it, I don't even look at them. So this one's, it's already had a lot of use. I've used this now for nearly 2 years. And is it 2 years or 1 year? 2 years. And it's paid itself back in dividends many times over. You can see I've put blocks and things under them. I first put the blocks under the main piece of wood, then another block in between there because I've just had trouble with my elbows when it was on that workbench there originally, behind where I'm standing now, and I used to get aching in my elbow, and it was all to do with the angles that your elbow's at when you're turning on the lathe. So I basically played around with the heights, and the height that it's on now seems to be fine. And my elbow is... I don't make money on my channel, James. My channel is not monetized. I made that decision a long time ago. It's not to say that I'll never change that decision, but for now, certainly, I made the decision that when I watch other people's channels, I'd much rather they didn't have the adverts on there. So I don't want to give that same inconvenience to the people that watch my channel. It would be nice to have the money, but for now, so far, I think the difference that would make to my life is not worth hassling everybody that watches my videos to have to click that button after 4 seconds, or watch a video that you have to watch through to the end. So for now, certainly, I'm not monetizing it, so hence there's no videos. So if I did monetize, it could be that historically it would make a difference. You know, how much thumbs up, thumbs down, views, all of that will make a difference, of course. So that's the lathe. The chuck is a chuck by Robert Sorby. It's an English company, and they make them. I believe they make them themselves from scratch, and they have a lifetime guarantee. I think this is the third chuck I've already had from them. I was on the phone to them this past week because it was starting to seize up again. I stripped it down, re-greased it, and it's operational, but it's not ideal. So as long as it works, as soon as I've got a bit of spare money, I'm going to buy another one so that I've got a backup, and then I can send this one off, let them repair it or replace it, but I won't have to sort of close the workshop as a result. So I want to have that luxury of having a backup at all times. So when I've got a bit of spare money, that's what I'm going to do, is get another one of those. So here I've got all my stems in there, and there I've got some mops, bits and bobs, and those are the lathe tools on the magnetic strip. Those are the drilling tools for drilling the shafts and for drilling the bowls. And this is I guess pictures and more, I suppose so. Yeah, but it's not the puny little channels like mine. They're not bothered by that. They want the channels that have got hundreds of thousands of views. So it won't make a blind bit of difference what I do. So that's the big disc sander which I use to just take off the heavy, meaty bits of briar before I start shaping properly on the lathe. And then after it's been on the lathe, I'll use it again to narrow down the shaping before I use the disc. And that's the bandsaw, which is pretty much where it starts before I do anything, once I've drawn the shape on the block. Daniel, 1 second, let me finish doing this tour and I'll come to your question. This is the... what I do is I brush it, I brush the chuck and I vacuum it. So maybe a blower, an herb thing would be a good idea as well, but I usually vacuum it. They probably are. It's probably my fault, maybe. It could be. I mean, it's designed to work with wood dust, but briar dust, I think, it goes very, very fine. And obviously, when I'm on there, yeah, I don't have compressed air, but I suppose you can get cans. I do have a can of compressed air upstairs, but I'm not, as I say, I stripped it down completely, and it's clean inside. So I don't think that was the problem. I think the problem is that the dust gets in on the jaws here, and I can't get to those. All I can get to is the gearing, but I can't get to that. And these are a pair I just bought from Raw Crafted from Primal Cheetah. I previously had the Vermont freehands on, which I've got in a drawer somewhere for emergencies. They're not bad. I think that with time I'll probably invest in the bigger ones, the ones which have got the horizontal thing. They're about $350, so again it's a lot of money, but I think that's going to be my next upgrade. The drill is a cheap and cheerful from Screwfix. The drill itself cost me £25, so I'm not too worried about it. I just bought another one when the other one packed up. It's McAllister. The brand is McAllister. And I'm going to try and take it back, clean it up and try and take it back. If they exchange it, all well and good. If not, I've had my value out of it. So that is a little tour of the workshop. My briar is in the house. I've got a couple of boxes of briar, not a huge amount. I've probably got about 60 or 70 blocks. I really could do a lot more. And the way things are going now with Brexit, who knows what it's going to cost to bring it in. But it's expensive stuff. And I would love to be able to just go and spend £1,000 on briar and not have to worry about it for a year or two. But I'm not in that kind of position, so I can't. Yeah, Andrew, you're 100% right. This shouldn't be so problematic. I think the guy, when I called him up, he was surprised to hear that it was a problem. Um, they've been very good. I mean, I bought this is, as I say, this is the third one, and I've only paid once for it. So each time they've replaced it. Um, and quite clearly, on the previous one, I know that there was some of the gearing, the teeth had ground down. Why, I don't know, but there was little shards of metal which came out of it, so it was clearly something had gone wrong internally. But there we go. Yeah, that's fine, Daniel. Just no problem. You can ask away. No problem. Just I'll get to it when I finish what I'm saying. So you asked the difference between using my current lathe and a metal lathe. The main difference is the precision of it. With a wood lathe, essentially, there's your chisel. You've got your block of wire in there, and you hold your chisel again on the tool rest, and you carve. You turn and you cut away at your block of wood. When you're using a metal lathe, if you look at Jason Mouton's videos or some of the other guys' videos, you'll see that they've got a device here on the side. There'll be like a parallel track here, and you'll turn wheels to move your chisel in and out. The chisel will be a fixed chisel on a block, and it just moves in two axes, that way and that way. So it's absolutely precise. So for cutting bands and for precise cutting of tenons and stems, you really need to use a metal lathe. I recently started making bands on the wood lathe, which I've been very happy about. But with practice, I'm sure I'll get better at it. But it's been going pretty well. So overall, happy with it. And I don't feel the need now to rush out and get a metal lathe. It's a big expense. You can buy them for a few £100s, but it wouldn't make sense to buy it just for a few £100s. It would make sense to get one that you didn't have to think about upgrading ever again. And for that, you have to spend money. And I'm not in the market for that. So I was very happy that I was able to develop my sort of practice a little bit so that I could still do bands without the need for a metal lathe. Now I need to find my cigar lighter. Yeah, so what I was saying earlier on is about organizing this place. Is these magnetic bars are very good, but it's not organized. It's all there, but if you look at some of the videos that you see of people's workshops, you see they have these blocks of wood with drills in them, and have each drill has its own place and that kind of thing. And that's really something that I need to do. Can you convert to a metal lathe? Possibly. I mean, it's possible that you could work some kind of contraption, but probably not worth messing around. Yeah, I mean, I did do those drill bit blocks on the other side when my bench was on the other side, kind of. So you can see I did do that there, but I haven't done it on this side. So it's something which I need to do. I just really need to kind of solidify where everything is. I'm still sort of just seeing how it goes. I really would like to maybe have another area for doing this kind of work that I'm doing here, because I've got shelving beneath. I can't actually put my feet underneath this desk. So we shall see. Absolutely, Andrew. That's exactly why I want to do it. Is I just want to be able to, especially when I'm with this stuff, I might be sort of funneling out a slot on a stem, and I'll look for a tool. I might have just used it and just without thinking put it down, and then it gets covered by a piece of sandpaper, and then I can't find it. So I've got to clear everything down till I find the bit that I need, and that's a hassle. Look at this. I'm looking for my lighter. It's right there. Hey Jeffrey, how you doing? Cool, that's a long name. Jeffrey Alton Carter, which is what your name used to be, and now it's the Renaissance Piper. Greetings, Simon. You have quite the show set up now. Look, shop set up. Looks like you're staying busy. Glad for it. Thank you very much, Jeffrey. I hope you're doing well too. Hey Ivan, good to see you again. Look at me, I'm looking at my cigar, picking that up. Gone too lally. I'm wearing my headset now, so hopefully the sound is coming through well. You can put a chisel rest on an engineering lathe. Yes, I've seen that, but it's the other way around, which is more challenging. I think it's putting the I don't know what you call it, but the chisel block from a metal lathe onto a wood lathe. I think that's probably a bit more challenging. It may well be that it runs on the runner the same way as the chisel rest does. I don't know if you can buy them on their own. To be honest, for me that would be a very good solution. It really would be a very good solution. I've never seen them though, like to buy them separately. I'm still driving the Mazda. At the moment, I'm driving both the Mazda and the Toyota, so we're currently a three-car family now because the one that was written off is back on the road. It's an insurance write-off. It's a Category B insurance write-off, which means that if it gets written off again, it's not allowed to be on the road anymore. Currently, it is allowed as long as it doesn't get another claim. So the amount of money that I would get for the car just makes no sense. Um, yeah, Josh, that would make a lot of sense what you're saying, but I guess once it's done, and the problem is that it's so easy to move because when you clamp down a tool rest on a lathe, it's clamped, but it's very easy to move it. So you're right, it's probably not going to be worth the hassle of realigning it every time. So what I was thinking on this particular pipe was to trim it back and possibly do something like I did on this pipe. This pipe is now sold, but doing some kind of olive wood. I think I like the color of olive wood. I've never made an olive wood pipe, but as an extension, a shank adornment, it looks very nice. So I was thinking perhaps of doing something like that, and with a dark stain here, with a light stain, it works very well. Well, no stain actually on that. It works very well, but I think it would work very well against that color as well. So I'm thinking maybe to trim that back and do a longer olive wood. I've got a bit of, I'm not sure which wood this is. This may not be olive wood, but doing something of that length on the end of that, and then drilling it for 9mm. But this pipe is just sitting there. It's a shame for it not to be put into good use. Oh my gosh, £1,000 MOT. Man, that's not good. What colour stain do I use the most? I use Phoebing's medium brown the most. Occasionally I mix if I'm trying to achieve a certain colour, but most of the time it's Phoebing's either medium brown or dark brown. I've been using the British tan recently as well. And I used to also use button polish, which is not a stain as such. It's just a shellac with a very, very faint colouring to it. I've got bottles of the stuff, but I keep just a little bit in here and I use it every so often. And just so that I don't end up spilling it or something like that, which I seem to be wont to doing, is spilling bottles. I've seen a few people do those, Josh, those ones with the hose on it. The grey stain I've done quite a long time ago. I have done a grey stain. Well, it's more like a black stain, which is then sanded down. Good one, Jack. I like that. Counterbalance your sorrow by buying yourself some, by treating yourself to some baccy. Dress finish with a 3-star perfect grain pipe. Well, if it was a perfect grain pipe, then I wouldn't make a dress finish, because that would cover it all up. A dress finish is a smooth, opaque stain, and that does need to be in a perfectly smooth bowl. But you would just do it on a bowl that perhaps doesn't have the best grain in the world, but has it's a perfect piece of briar. So the briar itself might not be. So this block here, for instance, it looks like it's got nice potential. There's some nice grain behind it. You can see the grain coming through. But if it wasn't a nice piece of grain, but the briar itself was perfect, no blemishes, no pits, no spots, but the grain was rubbish, then that you could make into a dress pipe. A dress pipe is basically a completely black, let's say. It could be any colour, but I guess they tend to be black. And it's completely opaque. You can't see through. You can't see any grain through. So it would be pointless wasting a grainy pipe on that. But it does have to be a perfect piece of briar to do that. Clamp a piece of 1-inch square by 6-inch in the tool head. Not whether you can. This time of year, we end up having too many donuts and potato latkes. I think that's probably why my daughter was sick all over the place this evening. I haven't smoked his pipe yet. Have you smoked yours, Daniel? I'm a bit spoilt for choice at the moment. I've got plenty of pipes to smoke from, so I haven't given that one a go. And how's it smoked, Daniel? Smoked well? That's not bad news, that's good news. That's excellent news. I saw your picture of yours, Andrew. There's something special about unstained bowls. Well, that's the third Radice that I've got now. The first one, which was the billiard, is a lovely pipe, a beautiful dual stain sandblast. But so far, I haven't really fallen in love with it yet. The second one I got was last year's Briar Blues Pipe of the Year, and that one, the Shape 55, that one smokes very, very well. Also in a burgundy kind of stain, a rusticated one. And this year's one is a smooth with a burgundy kind of stain. And you can just about make out the grain through it. There must have been a reason why they stained it so dark, but the grain on it looks amazing, and I am very tempted to sand it down and restain it. I saw one spot on it, and I would have just incorporated that in the stain personally. But every maker has their own way of doing things, I guess. Hey Kirk, from Florida, as opposed to anywhere else. Hope you're doing well, Kirk. Good to see you. Hey, Maui, haven't seen you in ages. How are you? How's the hot dog business at the moment? Stamper Tamper, Road King Piper. How you doing, guys? Living the dream. Good for you. Kilted Piper. How you doing, Steve? Hey, North Country. Daniel, different to. I don't know how many pipes you have and which pipes you're smoking, but certainly some briars will give you a different flavor compared to others. Um, but I think you'll probably find that the flavor rounds out and becomes more familiar as you smoke the pipe more. It's probably still breaking in, and sometimes on a new pipe you do get a bit of a brighter, harsher flavor. Sometimes you don't get the full flavor through it. Sometimes it seems richer, but in actual fact, what it is less smooth as a result of the briar still breaking in. And you will find over time, maybe after you've smoked it 20, 30, 40 times, that it will start to improve. It should start to improve after 5 or 6 smokes, but you'll really start to see a difference probably after 30 or 40 smokes, and even more so as you get down towards the 100 smokes, 150 smokes. I'm glad to hear it. Smoking 156, is that the egg-shaped one or the tomahawk, the pickaxe? Jack, in terms of Erinmore flake, I find it ages very well, better than the mixture. I think it does fantastically well with age. It improves very well, even though it is classed as an aromatic technically, but it's mostly Virginia. It's a light aromatic. What I would say is that probably after 20 years, 15 or 20 years, the flavor might change. But I would say that if you've got some Erinmore between um, anywhere between say 4 and 5 years and 10 years, it's probably going to be fantastic. Beyond that, I probably wouldn't age it that much more. I sound different. I'm using a decent headset. This is a. I'm going to sound a bit distant now because it's a directional headset. This is the EPOS Sennheiser, kind of the lower end of their professional range, but it does give you a very, very sharp, clear sound. I mean, even some of the McBaron vanilla flakes and these kind of things, those age well, even though they're proper aromatics. If the foundation of the blend is a decent Virginia tobacco, it should age well. You do get to a point that the aromatics will start to break down on a molecular level, and then you do start to see changes in flavor. I opened up an Erinmore flake from a tin of Erinmore flake, a vintage tin, probably from the 70s or the 80s, and it tastes different. It doesn't taste the same as. I mean, it could well be that the blend was different. It was from the Murray's era, um, but so I wouldn't have anything to compare it to. I should really try it again. I only smoked it once or twice, but it certainly doesn't taste like the current Erinmore flake, which I really, really like. It's really a matter of choice, Daniel, in how you prefer your tobaccos. Some people will pick up a pipe that they like and they'll smoke anything in it, from Virginias to Latakias to Burleys to aromatics. Probably the only one that you can't do that with is probably Lakelands. And some people are very fussy. So I won't mix my Latakias with other tobaccos. But that's just me. Some people do. It's a matter of personal choice. It's a matter of how of your nature. You know, if you're fussy about things and you like things to be exactly as they should be, and you don't want to have any deviation. But I'll tell you something. Sometimes I'll smoke, say, Orlick Golden Sliced in one of my aromatic pipes where I smoke vanilla cream in most of the time, and it's a nice change. So you get that Virginia Orlick Golden Sliced with a little bit of a vanilla flavour from the previous smokes. So there's no reason not to mix. It's not going to cause you any harm or anything like that. It's just a matter of whether you like the taste or not, and you'll know as soon as you smoke it. There's no reason not to do it. It's about experimenting. Just do what works for you. Yeah, absolutely Midwestern. Hi. People use cobs to try out stuff as well because the cobs generally don't ghost. Burley, Virginia should be fine in a Virginia pipe. Shouldn't be any problem at all. Dedicating pipes to blends is, if you've got plenty of pipes, there's no reason not to do that. Pictures and more. But dedicating it to genres of tobacco is not certainly not a snob thing. That's a sensible thing to do, if that's something which suits you. Josh, subtle hint, Josh, right? I know. I'm just joshing with you, Josh. Joshing with the Josh. Did I get equipment slowly over time? Yes and no. It took me a while to really invest in proper equipment. I started off just using a drill with attachments on the drill. I did that for about a year. Um, Once I invested in the lathe, then the bandsaw came pretty sharpish after that. And I would say that the two main things that I invested in was the lathe and then the bandsaw. The disc sander only came very recently, actually, probably a year and a half after starting. So these were the two most significant investments, and I got that grinder as well. But you know, funnily enough, it's all the little things which actually add up. You know, the bench vise, all the drill bits, all the files, the tools. You know, the benches, everything. All of that adds up, and all the best, Steve. Thanks for joining. Well, actually, in terms of amount of money, you'd be surprised how little it was. Because I said all along when I started that I'm not going to break the bank. You know, it wasn't a decision that I was going to decide that from now on I'm going to be a pipe carver and therefore I'm going to need to invest £10,000. I bought piecemeal what I needed, and really and truly I could still buy a lot more stuff. I mean, a sandblaster for a start. I would love to have a sandblaster, but as long as I'm producing pipes and I'm honing my skills and I'm perfecting my skills, I don't need to jump from smooth to sandblasted now. I can do it tomorrow. I can do it in a year or in 5 years, please God. So I'm not in a rush, and because it's not something I'm doing full time, I'm just doing it at a steady pace. You know, people have said to me, "Why don't I get this or why don't I get that?" I'm still honing my skills on basic carving, basic pipe shapes. I'm exploring different shapes the whole time. I still need to hone my skills on stem making. There's so much I could be doing still, and I'm just doing that at my own pace, and it's going pretty well. The I would say that in terms of the machinery, the value of everything that's in here, besides for the briar, I don't think it's. going to be more than £2,000 tops. So in terms of return on your investment, if you do it sensibly, you could do very, very well. Where am I? I'm up to number 255 now. The next pipe will be 255. I haven't sold every single pipe, but I've sold the majority. And the pipes, the costs that I would have sold them at will be ranging between, on average, I would say between around £100 and £180. Some are more, some are less, but on average. So there's been a decent return on the investment. Okay, there's Briar, there's my time, yep. But it's certainly as a secondary or third source of income, it's fantastic. Yeah, it could get used equipment. I quite like the idea of getting equipment that's under guarantee, to be honest. When I started doing photography, for instance, I also bought the best that I could afford. Although that I was doing professionally as an income, so I did spend more on those than I would perhaps here. The level of investment that I've done, the machinery that I've bought, is just above sort of household hobby kind of quality. It's somewhere in between hobby and professional. It's definitely slightly upper in the range, but not quite professional level. I apply the wax to the mop, the buffing wheel, and I apply it at high speed so it kind of melts it onto it. It warms it up as it spins around, and then I slow it down and buff the pipe. Absolutely Midwestern. Doing something creative is what it's all about. I keep saying that I much prefer sitting here, being in here, making a pipe than marketing it, and that's why I'm sitting on a load of pipes at the moment because I'm just not marketing them properly. And that leads on to the next question from Road King. I do have a website, but it's not up and running at the moment. It's been up and down. It's kind of there, but I just haven't given it enough of my own time to really to be in a position where I'm happy to just leave it up live. I need to learn how to use it myself more. At the moment, it's being done by somebody else. So I need to learn how to upload new pipes and take off the ones which are sold and that kind of thing. Once I've got the hang of that, then I think you'll probably see it being fully updated on a regular basis. And I believe that I could probably even update it on my phone as well. How did those pipes do that you sent to that one place? I sent some. If you're talking about GQ Tobaccos, he still hasn't uploaded them. Every time I ask him, he says no, he hasn't had the chance to do it. He says he's about a year behind. I mean, he told me that last time I spoke to him, that the most recent batch of pipes he put up on the website, he'd received a year and a half before. So maybe that's a good investment plan because maybe he thinks that my pipes will be worth more 2 years down the road. I don't know. Adding a design is not really my style, Daniel. Um, the nearest I got is that sort of carving that I did on that small one that Tim wants. I'm not into designs, and no, it's not my style. Face carvings and all that. It is really not my style. I'm a very much. I'm. I would say that my philosophy on pipes is a traditional style, but with sort of a up to date flair, if you like. That's what I would like to think that my pipes will be and are. I learnt. I'm pretty much. I wouldn't say self-taught. I was actually talking about it in the interview that I was on earlier on. I obviously before I got into making pipes, I played around with hobby blocks as well. But for the most part, when I got into the pipe smoking hobby, I kind of fell in love with the whole thing from beginning to end, anything associated with pipe smoking. So whether it was making a pipe, whether it was the tobacco, whether it was tobacconists going into shops, all of that, whatever it was, I was interested. So it was only a matter of time before I'd have a try to make a pipe. Um, for a lot of people, it is a hobby, pictures and more. I mean, I suppose once you make some money from it, it becomes professional. But for a lot of people, it is a hobby. There's loads of people on Facebook who put pictures up, but they don't sell their pipes. So for them, it's certainly a hobby. And for me, it started as a hobby for sure. And I still consider it. My attitude is still in terms of hobby, because I still enjoy it. I enjoy every minute of it. There's frustrations along the way for sure, but it's still enjoyable. And if you can make money out of something that you enjoy doing, that's win-win. Um, so early on, as part of that passion, I just watched and read and looked at loads of YouTube videos, and I played around with hobby blocks, and it kind of grew from there. After the first few hobby blocks that I did, I actually managed to carve a couple of fairly decent pipes, and one of them, somebody said, "Would I sell it?" I said, "Yeah, sure," and I sold it. It got a fairly decent price, and I guess the next one I tried again to do something decent. That one sold, and it just went from there. And it just got to a point where I just realized that there's a limit to how much I can do with hobby blocks. I've got to start making the pipes myself. So I got the lathe. It was quite a jump for me to jump into getting a lathe. I was really intimidated um, by the lathe, but once I got onto it, you know, not water off a duck's back, the wrong saying, but it was like riding a bike basically. Once I was on, I was on. Yeah, pictures are more. I know you like to have a bit of a negative view of life, and you like to rub people's nose in it, but it really is a matter of your own perspective and how you view it. I hear where you're coming from, that people try to make it sound less harmful or less of an addictive kind of situation by calling it a hobby. And for some people, maybe that's true, but I think for a lot of people, it is a hobby because everything that surrounds. If it was just about smoking tobacco, people would literally just get any kind of receptacle that would carry tobacco with two holes in it, and you smoke it. But I think, hi Patrick, but I think that the level of commitment and diversity and the actual choice of things, the selection of things that you could do associated with pipe smoking makes it a hobby. Whether it's collecting the tobacco, whether it's the way you sort of lay out your desk and you have this little pipe corner, whether it's interacting with other pipe smokers, meeting people, sharing tobaccos, exchanging tobaccos, all of that kind of thing, that is a hobby without a question. You know, some people collect penknives. Penknives are a utilitarian item. It's there to cut things. Are you going to tell me that knife collecting is not a hobby? Sure, it is. Cutting things is not a hobby. So the actual act of smoking some tobacco leaf may not be a hobby, but the whole pipe smoking thing most definitely is a hobby. But as I say, it's really a matter of your own perspective, how you view it. You know, if it's just a means to get nicotine into your bloodstream, then no, it's not a hobby. Yeah, that's your perspective, pictures. You know, that's fine if that's how you see it. I guess in a way, it's good that if you see it that way and you're honest with yourself, and for you it is a lifestyle choice or addiction, then yeah, I wouldn't argue with you on that. If that's how you see it, then great, enjoy it as that. If I was to meet you somewhere along the way, I would simply say that there are elements of pipe smoking that are certainly a hobby, or extensions of pipe smoking that are a hobby. That's for sure. A lot of people, you know, they talk about the relaxation, the whole frame of mind, that mindset that changes as soon as they pick up a pipe, it's got a lot of value in it. Whether that part of it is called a hobby or not, I don't think it matters really. As long as you're enjoying it, as long as it's relaxing you, as long as it's a beneficial thing for you to do, then don't knock it. You want to give it this title or that title, I don't think it's important. I would agree with you on that. Certainly, after a meal, after a hard day's work, it's certainly a very rewarding experience. I used to have that many, many years ago when I smoked cigarettes. I smoked cigarettes from the age of about 16 and a half through to about 22 years old. So I smoked it for about maybe 6 years. I smoked cigarettes, 5 or 6 years. And that was it. I didn't smoke cigarettes after that very much. And I haven't touched one in, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years. But my most enjoyable cigarette was certainly after a decent meal, after a heavy meal, just sitting in, enjoying it, drawing deep on a cigarette. Very satisfying indeed. And I have that with a cigar as well. For me, sometimes the cigar beats the pipe, even though I'm totally into pipes. But I've said this many, many times on my channel. Sometimes when I've done a heavy day's work, sometimes a pipe's not enough. Somehow or other, I find that the cigar reaches deeper into my soul, man. Somehow it hits the spot. It does a Heineken job on me. Yeah, that for me, I would say that probably my most favorite pipe of the day is my morning drive pipe. My drive with a coffee. I think that's even better than the nighttime smokes for me. Most of the time, I look forward to that smoke every single day. And sometimes you get one of those nirvana smokes where everything, all the planets align, and you have a perfect smoke. I can still remember smoking some Northwoods with a Soren Refberg bent billiard, which I no longer have, and I lament the fact that I don't have it, but it was too narrow to convert to 9 mil, so I had to let it go. I held on to it for a long time, but eventually I let it go. And I still remember one particular day that I smoked Northwoods, and I just felt on top of the world smoke. That particular bowl was just perfect, and every so often you'll get one of those Nirvana smokes. And nowadays, if that happens, when I've reached my destination, I'll just sit in the car and carry on until it stops being good, or until it stops till I get to the end of the bowl, because you don't get those Nirvana smokes that often. A good vape, yeah, could be. I'm not so sure about vaping, I must be honest. I'm not sure what that's going to be in the long run for people. I hope it'll be okay. My boys, my two older boys, they vape, and I worry about them. Listen, any type of smoking is not good for you, of course, but I've never understood the concept of drawing in a vaporized liquid into your lungs. Never understood that. Virginia Flake, nice. Walking your dog, smoking a pipe. Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've each got our favourite ways of enjoying a pipe. Mine is in the car in the morning with a hot milky coffee. Do I find it easier now to make a pipe than when I first started? Some aspects yes, some aspects no. So in terms of the stem shank joint, now I find that a lot easier. I used to struggle with that, and if you look at any new pipe maker, that's probably the area which they struggle with most to get used to. To make the So when you're making a pipe, so this area here, and also to make this whole region look to be level and to be consistent and straight, and just not be sort of all over the place. And then of course there's this junction here. which I still, that I still work hard at that junction. Although I know what I'm doing now, but I still have to work hard at getting it right. And I can't say that I always get it spot on. The harder part for me is pushing the envelope. It's trying new things, and I still find the drilling is still, on a wood lathe especially, it's not as precise. So sometimes the drill could be a bit off. And hey Arthur, so it's the drilling is still a challenge, and it's kind of it's in your hands, but it's also not in your hands. Sometimes the lathe just, especially on long shanked pipes, the drilling is easy to go off a bit because if you're doing a short stem, a short shank, there isn't really much room for it to go off. The longer you go, even the slightest deviation at this end is a bigger deviation at that end, and it's enough to be completely off at the other end. The best part of making a pipe. It's a good question. The worst part of making a pipe used to be sanding for me, the hand sanding, and now I don't mind it at all. I've got used to the idea. The best part of making a pipe. The part that I enjoy the most. The short answer is I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I enjoy making them. I just enjoy making pipes. If I had to ask myself which is the most tedious part of making a pipe, probably still the sanding, but I don't dislike it anymore. The lathe and the chisels. Yeah, I mean, you definitely. That's where it all happens, where it all starts to take shape. But I think as you continue on your journey, Andrew, I think you'll also find that it kind of levels off. I certainly had that in the beginning, and I just couldn't wait to get on the lathe. But I think you'll find that with time, I mean, it may not be, it's the way it happened with me, might not happen with you, but with me, it's kind of, um, I enjoy all of it. I enjoy making a pipe, full stop. Even making a stem, which I don't do that often, but when I do, I still enjoy making it. But I just find it very, very time consuming. And I find that I can get a better result generally with the stems that I use. And for me, I put a lot of thought into balancing out which stems I use with which pipes, and I do that at the planning stage. And I can see, I think I can honestly say that over, I might have said this earlier on, I can't remember. I think I can honestly say that out of the 250 odd pipes that I've made, let's discount, say, the first 50. But the last couple of hundred pipes, I can honestly say that if you look at the pipes, you wouldn't necessarily tell that they are molded stems. I do so much to the stems, I do so much work on them that it just wouldn't be apparent. And I make sure that they look balanced, that they fit in with the pipe, and it doesn't look like a piece of rubber just stuck onto the end of the pipe. So that's and there's plenty of pipe makers out there who do exactly the same thing, high end pipe makers. So I'm in good company, and I'm very happy with that. I mean, here's a good example. So this is one of the pipes I made recently, and this is a Chris Eldritch rod stock which I used for as a shank extension. And so here the need for me to do was to make the balance here. So to make this area here roughly the same length as this area here, and this bit being in the middle. And this is a pre-molded ebonite stem, but it doesn't look anything like it did when it started. So it's fanned out over here. You can see that you got this curve going in and out, and then it's fanned out again over here. The button is completely reshaped, which is reshaped to the way I do all of my stems now. I've slotted out the button. I've thinned this down so that you have the height of the bite zone to the specification that I make my pipes. And I've also fanned it out here, so you can see it goes narrower here and wider at the top, and then obviously it's been bent. So it's completely different to what it was when I picked up the stem, but and it looks completely balanced and where it should be on the pipe. And that's what I strive to do. I can show you what one looks like beforehand. That's the stem beforehand. So you can see that that button is completely reshaped. Hey Phil, I'm not sure which one you mean, Andrew. Is it this one? A rusticated one. This one. And there's another one with that same rustication, which is another one which I'm very tempted to keep for myself. Oh, that one, okay. Yep. So this one originally I made with a smooth area here and a smooth area here, and just the sides were rusticated. But I just revisited it and I think it looks better this way. I gave it a good shiny shellac finish, just to make it glint in the light. Very nice Shank Cumberland acrylic. It's a lovely pipe. And you can see the direction of it there, and it meets in the middle and then goes up like a herringbone in the other direction. And the same there, it meets up in the middle there. Well, that kind of works with the grain there. If you see, I've done a horizontal carving there on that last bit, so it kind of flows nicely. The LCS Bryce stamp was over there, so I need to do another one there. But the first pipe that I did with that texture, I think is a glorious pipe. This one is just a lovely sort of billiard, but I just like the whole. I did a triangular shank on this one, which worked out really nicely, and I just love this little bit of the texture, which ties in very, very nicely. Taped it all off so it's precise, give it a nice straight line, and it just looks great. I think this is a great pipe. And again, stem shaped, very comfortable, nice bit. I do have a new Star of David stamp now, so I've yet to use it on a pipe, so the next few pipes will have that on. Thank you, Phil. That means a lot coming from you. That is a clear shellac, yeah. And I have to say that it's in no small measure due to the advice that I got from people like Phil, people who have been very generous with their knowledge, with their time. Phil was certainly somebody has been very, very open with his advice, more open than many other. Not many, that's unfair to say. Most have been very helpful, but some others who just not as helpful as they might be. And I've tried to do the same where I can. People have asked me advice, although I'm sort of only a couple of years in, but where I can, I do the same. I guess it would make a difference. Hi, Mike. Daniel, I think probably most artisan carvers make their own stems, I would say. But the vast majority of factory pipes won't be. But as I say, there are plenty artisan carvers who don't hand carve their own pipes, their own stems. That's what I did, Midwestern. I got some hobby blocks, and I use a drill, and I still use the drill now for. I still use it. That's just a wire brush, but I use it for sanding. That is my sander that I use. That's my shaping wheel. I have the big disc sander for some rough sanding, but this is my shaping wheel, and that goes into the end of the drill, and that's the majority of my sanding happens on there. And that's how I started. In the beginning, I did all my mops on little. They had little shafts on the end of the mops, and those went into the drill as well. So that was my whole workshop, was the drill. Pretty much, actually. I'm just trying to think if I had anything else at all when I started. I didn't. Everything was on that drill. I am drinking tea right now. I have some. It's either Tetley or PG Tips. I can't remember which. And I'm enjoying it thoroughly. I was a bit coffeeed out. I had too much coffee already today. I just fancied something else. Are there any telltale signs? It depends how it's made. I would hope that people taking one of mine would not be able to tell the difference because I've done so much work on the stems. But if somebody literally just takes a stem and plugs it in, you can buy them now with a 9mm tenon on them, and you can literally just plug it in and you're done. If you're doing a straight pipe, and that's it. There are carvers out there who will make a pipe, and they'll make the shank face wider. So all you've got to do is push in a stem. You don't have to line it up because it's a wider stem, a wider shank face, and that's it. They do nothing to the stem, and that's fine. You know, if you've got customers who will buy it, good for you. But if it's done properly, like I showed you on the ones that I'm doing, I would say the last 30 or 40 pipes I've consistently been increasing the amount of work that I do on the stems, and the last few pipes, the ebonite ones especially, I can see a difference. I can say this is I can see a difference between the ebonite pre-molded and the acrylic pre-molded. I find that I can go thinner on the ebonite ones, and I can make the bite zone more comfortable. And on the sort of more upper grade pipes, I'm tending to use ebonite, where I was for a long time using acrylic on a lot of them. Acrylic I can make very comfortable as well, especially the bent ones. Most of the pipes that I've made for myself have got acrylic stems on them. I used to hate acrylic, but I now really, I'm not bothered. I'll take either way. But on the really sort of more artisan looking pipes, I tend to use the ebonite. Yeah, I mean those ebonite ones, they're completely unfinished. It's literally like the clay pipe. You know, if you, the clay pipes, if you see them online, how they're made, they're put into a mold. You open the mold, take out the pipe, and that's it. So all the seam lines, all of that is all still on there, and the stem is exactly the same. See, this is how a stem comes. It's completely unfinished. You've got seam lines all the way down the side here, over there, and look at the way that bit looks. Uh, you've got to rework that. You can't not. You know, you can't make a pipe like that. So it's completely and the level of work that you put into it will show in the end result. Mm. These are, I think, these are Guidici. I've actually got his catalog, and I've got to do an order because you got to do a minimum order with him. He's got this service where you can actually buy for 150 euros. I think he gives you one of each of his stems, and I suppose the idea would be is to put them all up on a board so you know which ones you need when you make an order. I might do that when the funds allow. For now, I've just been buying them from different outlets. But with the way things are going with Brexit and all of that kind of thing, I just wish that I'd have some disposable income, a few £1,000s to just invest in briar and stems, ebonite rods, just to get a load of materials, just so that I can relax for a couple of years. Yeah, Philip, I would agree. I'm not as expert as you, but I would agree that these stems are very, very good quality. Once you've worked them and you've re-drilled them, which I do now on every single one, I re-drill them to with a, I use, where is it? I use one of these. Um, so that's a tapered stem, a drill, and I drill them all out so that they're a wider draft, so it matches the rest of the draft hole better. Josh, go fund me. Yeah, a hobby lathe might be a way to go. I know some people have these very small hobby lathes just for the stem work. You can't put a pipe on it. But the thing is that when you're matching up a stem with a pipe, you really want to be able to do it on the same lathe. You can, I suppose, do the main shaping of it and then put it on the main lathe. But at the moment, I'm happy with the wood lathe, and I'm happy that I've kind of developed a little bit of a way of making bands fairly accurately on the wood lathe, and that will just improve hopefully with time. Yeah, Phil, I've got the same kind of idea. All my stems are in those drawers there, and they're all sorted out pretty much. But the my ebonite ones mostly are actually in a exactly what you were saying, a Tupperware container. So there's a couple of levels of compartments. Those are my ebonites, and the other ones have got mostly acrylic. I'm on my third drill at the moment. It would be great if I could sort out a motor. I've tried, and people have tried to help me, but it just hasn't worked out. They come as if you order saddle bit stems, they come as saddle bit stems for sure. It would certainly make sense to get something which is at least in a rough saddle bit stem shape. Um, for me, as I say, the amount of work that I put into the stems, I don't see a lot of difference between that and some people might say that I'm biased, and I would say that, and that's true. I get that. Um, See, Patrick, your comment just now, for me, that's the most rewarding comment to get because that's the whole point of what I'm doing on the STEM work that I do. I don't want to be blowing my own trumpet here, but that's the reality of it, is that it's got to be comfortable. And the way I model it is based on my own experience. So if I'm making a pipe, and if it wouldn't be comfortable to me, then I don't want to give it to somebody else. So it's got to be comfortable for me. I'm quite a discerning pipe smoker, so if it works for me, then I can have a reasonable amount of confidence that somebody else will be happy with it. Jack, it will depend on your tenons. If you're making your own tenons, then it doesn't matter. You just have to match it up. You can use 9mm, you can use 10mm, you can use 12mm. It doesn't make a difference. But if you're buying pre-made tenons, then you'd have to use a drill bit that matches the tenons that you're using. And also depends on the material of the tenon. If there's give in the tenon, then you want to get a drill bit which is slightly smaller than the size of the tenon. So if there's give, it will sort of grip the mortise a lot better. It really depends on what you're doing, bottom line. .238, which one is that? Is that the blonde apple? The 238? Well, if you're making your own stem, then yes, you would have to cut it yourself. But if you're using a pre-made one, then they'll usually be pre-done. They'll be molded. Absolutely, Phil. It's all about the balance. And that's why, as I said, if people look back at the last maybe 100 or so pipes, 150 pipes that I've made, you shouldn't be able to tell whether it's a pre-made stem or not, because the pipe is designed to be balanced with the stem that I'm using. Oh, right, 238. I'm just looking it up. Is that tapered stem and shank, isn't it? That was an interesting pipe. Okay, Josh, I don't recall. But it would have been early on, so maybe not my best at the time. I don't recall which one that was. So I don't generally use, Andrew, to answer what you're talking about with Phil. I generally always drill, even if I've got these ones. They come with tenons, these ebonite ones. Obviously, they have to be cut to size. I just cut them off and I drill and I put my own tenons in every single stem. So I know exactly what the measurements are and the tolerance is precise. So I don't have any issues with that. I find that having to get the mortise and tenon precise if you're cutting it and sanding it is just such a tricky thing. And depending on the temperature of your workshop, if it goes up or down, if there's a lot of fluctuation, you could end up with a loose stem or a tight stem. So I just really stick to what I know. Well, Stabby, if you know which one it was and you got pictures of it, send me a picture and I'll see if I can make another one. Yeah, that the Gorilla Glue works very, very well. Just what you need to do is make sure that the glue is not exposed so that the person who's smoking it, the smoke goes past the glue. Because super glue generally is quite toxic. Once it goes off, I don't know how toxic it is, but on the chance of it, I just make sure that there's no, as much as possible, that the smoke doesn't come into contact with any of the glue. Generally, the two-part glue I think is safer. Once it goes off, then it's pretty much harmless. You cut small grooves in the tenon too. Small grooves for what? When you're gluing it in, you mean to grip? You're talking about the bit that goes into the stem. Yeah. Are you talking about cutting your own tenons? You're using a rod and you're making your own tenons, or are you? Okay, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That will certainly help it grip better. Josh, did you send it to LCS or to Bosco? Okay. Right. Okay. But are there no glues out there which are food safe, which can be used that you know of? Just half a tick. I'm just logging in on LCS on my. If I do it on this phone, it'll more than likely screw up the connection. Half a tick, sorry. Whoops. Here we are. Let's have a look at this picture. It's just downloading. Oh, right. That looks like quite a well-made stem there. I don't even remember the pipe, I must be honest. Is that comfortable, the stem, Josh? Oh, that's good. There must be quite an older pipe. I don't know how long ago you got that one. Hey Jeff, what does Mrs. Simon think about my hobby? Well, she doesn't complain when she needs to go and buy food and I can give her money because I've sold a pipe. That's for sure. Smoking? No, she's not a fan of that. But the rest of it, she's. I mean, she every so often she'll show an interest in the pipes. I do like to show her the pipes that I've made when I've made them, and my kids like to see them as well, which is nice. Every so often, the kids will come out and muck around, sand some wood or something like that. And I've had one of my kids who's been involved in a couple of the pipes that I've made. Um, but in terms of making pipes, for sure, no problem there. Essentially, you're a man of the house and you're doing what you have to bring some money in. But the smoking part of it, obviously, she's not keen on. Which I guess is understandable. What's the time now? 25 to 2. Alright, we can go for a bit longer. Some glues do react with some materials. I've not yet found any negative reaction with any pipe material, with the epoxy or the super glues that I've used. Not found any problem with that at all. But they clearly are toxic. Not so much the epoxies, but the super glues. When you're using them, you can sometimes your eyes are stinging when you're using the super glue because of the toxicity or toxicity. It's half one. I do want to actually branch out and do other things like bowls, ashtrays, things like that. One thing I really would like to do. You don't come across as rigid at all. We respect what you say, Philip, without a doubt. I only smoke in my office in the house. I have an office upstairs which I have sealed. Well, when I say sealed, I've put brushes around the door, screwed to the bottom of the door and around the door. And I have an extractor, and I smoke in that room. I had some opposition to it right at the beginning, but it's kind of pretty much accepted. It's my office, and nowadays, if she wants to talk to me in there and I'm smoking, she'll just come in. It won't be an issue. It's just an accepted fact now. But generally, the only time I've smoked in the house proper was one time when my wife had asked me to put together an IKEA cupboard. And I don't know if I was stressed or whatever it might be, and she allowed me to actually smoke a pipe whilst I was making it in the main downstairs living room. I think that's the only time that I've smoked in the house, and I wouldn't expect to, and I wouldn't ask to. It's not a question of am I allowed to. I just wouldn't ask. It would be very inconsiderate of me to do that. Why would I force that on other people? If people come into my domain, which my office is, kind of, you call it that, I suppose. But if you come into my domain while I'm smoking, that's up to you. It's your decision. But if I come into your domain and smoke and you don't have a choice in the matter, that's not very nice. Hey Charlie, how you doing? How you doing, Boca? At the end of the day, in the house, I've got my wife, I've got my kids. Right now, I've got my daughter, my son-in-law, my grandkids. It would be inconsiderate. That's true, Ken. That's a good point. Doesn't necessarily mean combustion safe. Yep, that's a good point. But people have been making pipes for over 100 years, and glue has been used. I would say, perhaps maybe not in the early days. They probably didn't use adhesives, but certainly in the last probably 50 to 70 years, they've been using glue, and there haven't been any, known repercussions as a result. So I don't know if I missed something, Phil, but I don't know if I saw anything that you said which could have caused offence to anybody. Yeah, Kim. Exactly. When you have that kind of attitude, this is my house, I'll do what I like, that's when you end up smoking outside. When certain privileges get withheld, when you start to be obstinate and chauvinistic, then you end up being the man outside the house, not the man in the house. Happy wife, happy life. Hey Kevin, how you doing? How's Marsha? Every time I see a picture of you, Kevin, you're looking more and more like Jesus. That hair, the beard, you're looking positively holy. Yeah, a pipe's not as bad as a cigar, but the funny thing is that when you go into a cigar lounge and you light up a pipe, you do get looks from people because they just don't like the smell of pipes. I remember J.J. Fox's in London, central London, in St James's. There was a period when they asked the Pipe Club of London to stop meeting because they were having complaints from neighbours. But people were smoking cigars there all day. But the Pipe Club they weren't too happy about. Go figure. Thank you very much, Marsha and Kevin. Happy Hanukkah to you guys. Anybody else that's celebrating it? You got a very big doghouse, Phil. Your barn. I call it a barn. It's not a garage. It's a barn. It's huge. That's one thing you guys in the States have is you have land. If you're lucky enough to have land, but if you have land, you have land. The people out there that I've seen with garages. I mean, you look at Mel's garage. I look at Phil's garage. I look at Ben's garage, Unicorn Piper. You guys have got so much space because of the cost of property is so much lower than it is here. It's unbelievable. I suppose if you go into the countryside here in the UK, it's the same. People have bigger garages, but here in London, it's impossible. I'm actually very fortunate to have this garage. This garage is at the back of the garden, and there's like a track. There's like an alleyway at the back of between the streets, between the back gardens, and a good percentage of the houses have garages, and this one is a pretty good size. It's kind of split in half. So you've got here, you can see mine, and then there's this doorway, this wall which I put up a number of years back. So I've got a storage area in the back. At some point, thanks Tim. At some point, I want to knock this down and then just make this a much bigger workshop. But for now, as I say, I'm content. Good night, Tim. I will hold the pipe for you, no problem. 20 by 60. That's huge. This one here is about, I would say, about 10 feet wide, and it's about 18 to 20 feet long. So it's a good size, but I'm only using half of it at the moment. So it's roughly 10 by 10 ish. Maybe 10 by 8 or 9. Yeah, you do have a lot of space out there in the States, that's for sure. Yeah, I suppose it is easier to keep warm, but it's not doing a great job with the heating that I've got out here. So let's say all in good time. At some point, I'll make the roof better, and I'll insulate that. And then when I do open it up, then I'll probably re insulate all the walls and put, these are all wooden sort of, it's a false wall, and there's some insulation behind there, but the second half of the garage has no insulation. So I think once, and there's a garage door as well, and the garage door is sort of unsealed. It's locked, but it's unsealed. So there's airspace around there, and every so often I'll get a little mouse or a rat running around in here. But I haven't seen one for a while now, thankfully. Um, but the problem that I've got is that because my garage door never opens, people have taken to dumping rubbish outside my garage, which is an absolutely disgusting liberty that people take. Every so often I'll clear it, and within a few days, people are dumping stuff again. So I just don't clear it. And eventually, once I do sort out this garage, I'm going to put a fence, because behind the garage, there's actually still another maybe 4 feet, which is still my land. So I'll have to put a fence up at some point. Yeah, I mean, if you go to places like Hong Kong and these kind of places, their villages are vertical, absolutely, not horizontal. Yeah, yeah, Kim, it's unbelievable as it is. Whenever I clear it, within a day, there's more garbage there, so I just don't clear it. I've somebody's put a bathtub out there, and I know pretty much know which house it came from. And I took the bathtub, I dragged it outside his house. The next day, it was back again. There's all sorts of rubbish there. People put old mattresses there, and just rubbish. So I just leave it, and I suppose there's a limit to how much they can put there. So it stays as it is, and I will clear it once I have the funds to put a proper fence up. Probably what I will do is put a fence up and maybe make almost like an extension to the garage, and maybe open it up a little bit. No, I don't have a shotgun, I'm afraid. Well, my workshop is pretty concise, Phil. It's really just this little L shape, and this is the whole thing. There's this, and that's it. So I've got a couple of machines on there, and then this U workbench, which I got a few weeks back, and that's the whole thing. So I could populate it with other machines, with a metal lathe, sandblasting unit, that kind of thing. But for now, it's as concise as it is. I still need breathing space, and I need storage space. I've got too much stuff lying around. I really need some cupboards and drawers and that kind of thing. But like I say, I make do with what I've got, and every so often I'll add another item, and that way I don't feel it. It doesn't break the bank. It doesn't put a pressure on the household finances. And generally speaking, I'll only reinvest from money that I've made from the pipes that I've made. So I try not to let it burden the rest of my finances. Well, that you got a very nice sized garage there, Josh, and that workspace that you're creating in the basement, another lovely space. I'm assuming that you're not going to be doing woodwork and stuff in there. Is that just like a den, a chill out space? I think I saw the mock up on one of your videos. Could it be? Was that yours? A 3D mock up? Alright, this cigar's had it. What, with gaps in your floorboards so it drags it all through, Phil? A living room with kitchenette. Well, you'll have to decide whether you're gonna which room you're gonna be in, whether you'll be outdoors or whether indoors. I suppose it'll maybe make a clear delineation between work in the workshop and relaxing in the den. The pink-shaped pipe with the perfect connection. That sounds like a song. I do have some. I think I still have that. I've got a couple of estate pipes which came in, which are probably going to go up for sale soon. I'm not sure if I've showed you these ones or not. This is a line which Stanwell did. It's called Black and Silver. There you see black and silver and sterling, which is I've not seen these before. So when I saw it, I picked that one up. Very, very nice condition. Made in Denmark. Nice piece of briar. Not going to need to do too much to that. I picked up another Bentley by Former. A nice apple shape. With a silver godet. Again in very nice condition. And I picked up. This is the first Il Seppo pipe that I've ever had. Really, really nice grain on it. Actually looks like it would have a really tight sandblast as well if somebody wanted to. And it's really, really nice. First one I've had of these. So I might well keep it, we'll see. So the pink one. Oh, I dropped it again. Are you talking about this one? Yeah, that's got a really, really nice connection there. Spot on. This is a Chris Eldritch rodstock. Yeah, I've seen good things about those, Mike. But yeah, I do fancy trying it. We'll see. I'll give it a clean out and we'll see. Maybe I will keep that. It's a nice full bent pipe as well. I mean, buying them new, they're actually quite expensive. The drill looks good. Well, as good as you'll expect from a full bent pipe. Yeah, he's got some lovely rodstock. Have you bought some of his rods, Phil? I put an order into him recently, and I think he makes them to order. He pours them and molds them to order. This is the pink one. This is how it looks before it's sanded. This one I haven't tried yet. They're black and white. But when you cut into it and sand it, it doesn't look like that. It looks completely different. It looks more like a swirly kind of thing. It's a green and black, and that's an orange and black. So you'll be seeing these in my pipes in the future. So I've used them on a couple of the pipes already. And I may well order some more. He's got about a range of about 7 or 8 different colours, and I just ordered a few to try them out. But I do like them. I'm not sure that I'll use them so much for stems but more for decoration. Sometimes I'll do stems. I've certainly, got to increase my stem output, and I suppose when I get to a point where I'm experienced enough and I'm really enjoying doing the stems, then I'll probably use the pre-molded one less. What number is it? Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I'll have to look back on my videos. They are bright. Yeah, that's true. They are bright. It's kind of that's why I would probably use them more for decoration rather than stems. The right project, yeah. Yeah, I can see your typos are great, Phil. Yeah, his pipes. Yeah, for sure. He's definitely leans towards the dark side with his pipes. Very, very creative gentleman he is. It certainly helps that that it's already circular. I don't like working with the square rod stocks that you can buy, the acrylic square rods. It's just a hassle to get it into the round, so you can turn it. And there's bits of acrylic flying all over the place. I don't like working with the square ones, and it dulls your chisels more as well. Um, but did you see the 4 pipe set that he did? The 4 pipemen of the apocalypse. He did that set, and he made a custom made one just for that set, a blue, white, and red stem. Looked stunning, absolutely stunning. I asked him if he's going to make that a regular line, and I think he was considering it. Yes, for sure you can make stems from those rods. Absolutely, I have done. One of the pipes I've got upstairs has got one of those stems that I made. I think one of them was actually I sold that. That was a blonde unstained apple with a green swirly stem, which I made recently. Yeah, it's paying for waste, and it's awkward. I just don't like using them. I assume you're talking about the square stems. Yeah, it was a really, really cool set. I asked him if he'd consider doing them in 9mm in the future, which he said he might do. I mean, for now, that was a one-off. And he didn't sell it at a crazy price. He sold it for £800, I think. So you're talking about £200 per pipe. Considering that it was a collectible set, and considering that they were made by artisan pipe makers, um, I think there was a steal. I think that Chris Eldridge and Chris Asquith made 2 of them, and Mike Billington made one, and Ian Walker made one. Perhaps one day I'll be good enough and they'll include me and make a 5 pipe set. Who knows? Yeah, I thought it would have gone for a couple of £1,000, but I think it went for £800. I think they were testing the water, and it may well be that they'll do some collaborations in the future. Had it been 9mm, I would have been sorely tempted, but £800 is a lot of money. I mean, the truth of the matter is, the four horsemen of the four pipemen of the apocalypse is a very good description, because they are the four main pipe makers here in the UK. I mean, you've got Ashton and somewhere. Well, Ashton really is, to be honest, is an artisan pipe maker. They're not factory pipes, but he sells most of his stuff in the States, I think. This was the other stand while I was the estate stand one that I smoke myself. I don't know yet, Stamper, um, what the black and white looks like once it's turned and sanded. It'd be interesting to see. The orange one I've used, and it's kind of random. The swirly sort of designs, the patterns are pretty random. It's not like the Cumberland stems where, if it's made well, it's not like the Cumberlands where you get those, those lines, the lines going along the stem. So it's kind of random, but most of the time, when you cut into it, when you're making a stem, for instance, you do get nice swirls. That was a cigar, yes. That was a La Flor de Cano, Spanish regional edition Cuban cigar. Pipe 170. If it was orange and black, then it probably was. Let me just have a quick look. No, that one wasn't. That wasn't an Eldritch one. That was a nice pipe you grabbed there. Beautiful grain on that pipe. Williams Estate Pipes. Okay. Um, yeah, I would agree. I would say now, I was speaking about this earlier, Eric, that I tend to use, on the more artisan-y sort of shapes that I make, I tend to use the ebonite, the black ebonite in the end. They just seem to work better. I feel that I get a nicer finish on the stem with those. Phil, do you smoke mostly your own pipes, or do you smoke other people's pipes, generally speaking? Antique, cool. Is that likely to happen anytime soon, Mike? Are you planning on having a trip there with Jar? You have to make your way over to London sometime, Mike. It's more likely that you'll do it than me coming to the States or Canada. Next time you go to Europe, stop off in London. We'll have to meet up. I'll cook you a nice shoulder of lamb. You can come meet the family. It does sound good right now. I could actually kill a bit of. Well, I'd have to kill it, I suppose, to make it. But yeah, I could kill a bit of lamb. I was thinking of doing it tomorrow. We've got our Hanukkah party tomorrow. The festival is for 8 days, and we have a little mini sort of celebration each day when we light the candelabra, the menorah. But we usually have one or two sort of more proper parties, and our one is going to be tomorrow. Usually we have a big family one, so my parents would usually make a big family one for all the children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. But obviously that's not happening this year. And my mother-in-law would do the same, so we'd usually have at least three parties. But this year, none of them are making any. So we're doing our own one with our own kids and grandkids tomorrow. So that should be fun. But my mother-in-law definitely won't be partying. Her husband, who's her second husband, who's not my father-in-law, a very nice gentleman, but he's actually in hospital, not very well at all. He's an older person, but he's well in his 80s, but he's not well at all. So she ain't going to be partying. Yeah, but that's life. It's the way it is. She's just had a bit of a rough time of it. She lost the first husband about, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago. My father-in-law, my wife's father. Um, and then met this gentleman maybe 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. Maybe a bit longer. No, it's not COVID-19. It's the dreaded illness, which it seems to have advanced to quite a stage where I don't think they're expecting to do anything about it. With his advanced age, he's weak. You know, his body wouldn't stand up to any treatment, I don't think. Well, Arthur, next time you come, now that we know each other, virtually at least, perhaps we could get together. I've had the pleasure of meeting a few people who I've known through my channel, and they've told me that they're coming to the country. Andrew was one of them. I met not necessarily people from outside the country. I met Cobbett of the Shire, Stephen. I went up to Newcastle a couple of years back, and I met him at the local tobacconist that has a smoking lounge, and we spent a lovely couple of hours together. it's really nice to. I met somebody in the Dunhill, 1A St James's Street, which unfortunately is closed down now. But I met another cigar smoker there a couple of years back. It's fantastic when you can meet up with somebody face to face. It's a really nice feeling. And the great thing about it is that you don't have, when you meet somebody the first time, you don't have that awkward silence because you kind of know each other a little bit, and you've got the pipe or a cigar, whatever it is that you're kind of brought you together in the first place. Um, and as Chad says, the pipe is what brings us together, but it's not what keeps us together. It's the friendships which keep us together. And so, even if you're meeting somebody for the, oh look, there's that stem nestled in a little thing there. There you go. I think this is it. I think this was the stem. Yeah. There we go. That's the pipe. This one is a non 9mm army mount. You're looking forward to the Pope shows? Cool. I didn't know the Pope does shows, but okay. This was the pipe. It's got beautiful grain. I'm going to have to repolish it. But I haven't had any takers. I made this a good while back, probably a year ago even. That's standard non 9mm. Will smoke like a champ. But it's been sitting here for so long, I thought I might rework it and maybe try and put an extension on it and maybe make it for 9mm and smoke it myself. I don't know. Nice volcano shape. Yeah, that's certainly one thing that I'm envious of you guys in the States. You have so many pipe shows that you can go to. They are awesome indeed, the Pope shows. But here in the UK, we have just about one show, which is the Nottingham Pipe Show. And they had an unofficial one this year, but only a few people were invited to that. But hopefully they'll come about again, maybe next year. So unfortunately, there aren't really any pipe shows. There are quite a few meetups every so often, local meetups. And there's the Pipe Club of London, obviously, but it's not been meeting. There's been virtual Zoom meetings once a month now. What sounds delicious? Yeah, well, Andrew, you just got to time it right next time you come. Second Tuesday of the month. But at the moment they're not going, obviously. But when they do get back on, it would be great to get face to face again in the club. Good night, Philip. Thanks very much. Yeah, shoulder of lamb is delicious, especially if you make it the way I make it. But it's not cheap to buy a kosher shoulder of lamb. One that would kind of be enough to go around the family. I'd probably have to spend about £30 for that. Kosher meat is very expensive. Are you a member of the Pipe Club of London, Mike? Because they have, in the last meeting, they definitely had an international feel to it because they had people from around the world. And the link's usually published on their Facebook page. So they don't send out invites or emails. They just, you need to just check in. I'll try to remember to send you info about it when it comes out the next time. I'll try, but if you keep an eye out on the Facebook page, the Pipe Club of London, it should be in the announcements. Oh, you don't do Facebook? It may well be on the website as well, but I will try to remember. PG. Perhaps I'll put a video up as well, so people who are members will be able to get in on it. And I've actually suggested that they keep doing it, even when we go back to having the meetings in person, but it's a great way to have people from other countries be a part of it. Um, I don't think you could do it at the same time as the live ones, because I don't know how what format it would work where you could take part. I mean, you could have a live stream. I could have a video live streaming, but you just wouldn't be able to really take part. I don't think, because people are just chatting with each other. But it would be nice to have maybe one virtual one each month, so that people around the world can join. I think everybody doesn't like Mike in the meeting. It's as simple as that, Mike. You seem to be excluded from all these meetings. It must be the white hair, Mike. It blows out the exposure on all the screens. Yeah, kosher is expensive everywhere. Yeah, you said, Mike, about the Seattle Pipe Club. I'll have to see if I can join it. How much does it cost to join that one, Mike? I mean, the Seattle Pipe Club is certainly probably one of the best clubs in the world, I would say. What they get up to, they're so active. Um, you know, their collaboration with the tobaccos and the things that I've read up in the past, the things that they do. I don't know if it's $25 a year, so it's nothing. I think the Pipe Club of London is a similar amount in pounds, £25. And the Pipe Collector magazine, that one, I don't remember which club, what the club is called. Is it the Core Club? I can't remember the name of it. The one that you put me onto, Mike. That one I think is £10 to be an email subscriber, an email member. Exactly, exposure. Click, click. NASPC, yep. Although, I don't know what's going on with the editors. I hope they're okay with COVID and all of that, because we haven't seen a magazine in a while. You heard anything about that, Mike? Truth is, in this day and age, you could be a member of dozens and dozens of pipe clubs, across the world. Yeah, the virtual pipe club is great. I've joined it a few times as well now, and I was a guest once there on the show, and I don't know how he does it, but he just gets myself, apart from myself, but he's got some of the really top level people in the pipe industry, whether it's tobacconists or tobacco blenders, pipe makers, really top guys he's had on there. Oh wow, it's already 40 minutes since I said it's 20 to 2. It's 20 past 2. Alright, I think we're going to call it. Unless anybody's got anything else that they want to ask, now's the time. Otherwise, I had my prettiest sweater and hat for that meeting. Yeah, I did an interview earlier today for another channel, and I was freezing cold. I was wearing a hat for that one and all. Righty ho. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Boca. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, James. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Kevin. Regards to Marsha. Once again, thank you, Arthur. Shavua Tov to you, my friend. Thank you, Patrick. Yekim. Philip. Andrew. I think we've covered everybody that's still on. Josh. And everybody else, thanks very much for joining. Pipes and Bees is still there. Good to see you. Haven't seen you on the last Zoom meeting. And tomorrow, I might be able to still get on tomorrow. We'll see. Depends what time the party finishes. But we're starting pretty early. We're starting like at 5:30 in the evening. So we'll probably be done by 7:30, 8 o'clock. which should be just about right to join you guys. Stabby, thank you very much. Christopher, thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Happy Hanukkah if you're celebrating it. I will catch you on the next one.